Hi, welcome back to History with Hank. My name's Hank. Our first guest today is William Lloyd Garrison, or should I say the ghost of William Lloyd Garrison. How you doing, William? Okay, so William, give me a little bit of background about yourself. What movement did you do? And why did this need to happen?
First, I just want to say it's great to be here. Even though your chair is quite a lot bigger than mine, I don't know why. Why is that? Why is that?
My chair's bigger than yours because I'm more important. But that's about it.
John Green promised me I could have got a huge.
Well, John Green's not here.
I should have been on John Green. Okay, what was the question?
What was the movement? Let's just give me a background about yourself. And why did this need to happen? Who are you?
I am William Lloyd Garrison. If you didn't know that, I was a leader of the abolitionist movement, which was the movement to abolish slavery, and that was caused by the terrible treatment of blacks in our society, and we were very firm on our belief. My personal motto was no union with slaveholders, because we believed that was wrong, and it was just a matter of they were oppressing blacks and treating them like property, all to make a profit, and we just felt that was unacceptable. So we, as a movement, decided that slavery needed to be abolished.
Very important. You're truly a historical man.
Thank you.
William Lloyd Garrison. Was this movement tried before, or was there any other attempts on?
Yeah, I'm hardly the first person to speak out for slave rights. I mean, people for centuries have been talking about how all men need to be equal. I mean, since long before the writings of Thomas Clarkson and John Morant in the 1780s, people have been speaking out against slavery. I mean, Britain abolished slavery far before we did, and I think what really set us apart as a movement was that we were willing to do something about it, and also we were not willing to compromise. And in the very first edition of The Liberator, which, if you don't know, is the newspaper that I edited and wrote, speaking out against slavery, I said, "I'm in earnest. I will not equivocate. I will not excuse. I will not retreat a single inch, and I will be heard."
Well, shivers down my back. I don't know if you can feel them, but
if that's not deserving of a big chair, I don't know what is.
It's my chair. So, William, how is this consistent with the idea that America is the city shining upon a hill?
That's a great question, Hank. The city upon the hill was first brought up by John Winthrop, and it was an idea that there would be a perfect city that would model what other people wanted to do, and everybody would look to it. And for people of my movement, a city upon a hill, it could not be a perfect city if that city had slaves. So it kind of went along with the city upon the hill, because we were trying to make America that city upon the hill by making us the perfect country by taking
everybody being equal.
Exactly.
Okay. So, William, can we give a little lowdown of your life, a timeline of what the real William Lloyd Garrison did? I know you're just a ghost, but you probably know a little bit about him.
Of course. A lowdown.
Yes,
right.
A timeline.
I was born in 1805. My father left when I was 3, just a young boy, so I started working around 6 or 7 small things just to earn money. When I was 13, I got an apprenticeship as an editor for a newspaper. At 25, in 1830, I started The Liberator, which, as I said, anti-slavery newspaper. And in 1847, I skipped over parts of my life. How could I forget? Silly me, ha ha ha. In 1833, I formed the American Anti-Slavery Society, which was just something. It was after a trip to England, and I just felt like kind of put a name and an association on our beliefs. Then 1847, I, along with my good friend Frederick Douglass, we made a series 40 anti-union speeches. Very famous, very powerful, deserving of a big chair. In 1854, this isn't a personal event for me, but it's just kind of I'm just trying to give the viewer a little bit of a timeline of the movement, so to speak. Lowdown, exactly. In 1854, the Kansas-Nebraska Act was passed, which let slaves decide whether they were going to be a slave or a free state by popular vote. In 1857, unfortunately, this was a little bit of a blow to our cause, the Dred Scott decision, which was a Supreme Court case which basically said that the federal government does not have the power to prohibit slavery. 1861 was the start of the Civil War, and that was a war basically fought over slavery, some say. And 1862, Abraham Lincoln, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed the slaves. So that was basically the end of my cause. 1866, I retired from
speaking out, because your movement was...
Thank you.
Yes, and then in the 1870s you obviously died.
1879, I died.
Okay. Thank you, William. Now, another question for you. What solutions did your movement propose? I didn't know ghosts drink water.
Yes, they need to stay hydrated. We can go through walls, we still need water.
Okay.
Back to your question. Our solution was simply to abolish slavery. I think what kind of set our movement apart from others is that we were fully focused on one issue, which was the abolition of slavery. We didn't have an agenda. We weren't a political party. In a speech I made in 1854, I famously said, "I will not be a liar, a poltroon, or a hypocrite to accommodate any party, to gratify any sect, to escape any odium or peril, to save any interest, to preserve any institution, or to promote any object." And I think I was just telling people that we don't have any other interest. We are fully concerned with the abolition of slavery, and we're not going to change our views to pander to any other parties.
So when you were going through this idea of abolishing slavery, did you think it was a realistic goal? And we know that this goal was met later, but
at times it seemed like a bit of a difficult goal because people in politics, which I call an arena of compromise, it seemed like all they wanted to do was form compromises rather than sticking to their beliefs. So it felt like a difficult goal, but eventually, yes, it was reached thanks to people like myself, Frederick Douglass, Abraham Lincoln, other supporters that spoke out for it. Thanks to newspapers and pamphlets like mine, we eventually reached the goal, and it was a great feeling.
Well, thank you. Well, folks, that was a bucket load of history. We probably need a commercial break. We'll be right back after this.
Can we discuss the chair for a moment, because this might seem a little childish, but it's just so much bigger. It's cushioned. It looks a lot nicer than mine. I don't know.
Well, this is my show. These are my chairs. I can sit where I want. You're a ghost.
Okay.
Just go walk through a wall or something.
Okay.
Gosh. Wait, are we rolling? Welcome back to History I Think. I'm with my good friend, William Lloyd Garrison.
Best of friends.
Yeah.
Best of friends.
So, everybody, we get to play the game called Mystery Document. Everybody knows the rules of this game. I read it, and you have to answer who said that.
Same as John Green?
Yeah, but it's my version, because I'm reading and you're answering.
Okay, I'm just saying, it seems like you stole
I don't like that guy, okay?
All right.
Okay, here is the first quote. Where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, and where any one class is made to feel that society's organized conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade them, neither persons nor property will be safe. Who said this?
Okay, is this a good friend and a fellow comrade in the fight against slavery? Is that?
Yes, it is.
Okay, just asking. Is it a freed slave?
Yes, it is.
Oh, is it Frederick Douglass?
Yes, he is. Oh my gosh,
Yes.
William Lloyd Garrison.
Thank you.
You're a scamp.
I'm amazing. I know.
Yes, you are. Okay. Now, here is our second quote.
What happens if I get this wrong?
What happens if you get this wrong?
I'm just trying to. What are the stakes here?
Well, if he gets this right, everybody in the audience wins the extinct fur of the light-back wolf's fur.
Oh, do I win one of those? Because that sounds
The
amazingly
extinct
warm.
light-back wolf?
Fur? Yes, correct.
Of course
Well,
not. Of course not. You're a ghost.
Okay.
Just go back in time and
But the audience wins one. That's a lot. That's a lot of pressure.
just go back in time to when they were existing.
That's a good suggestion.
Okay. Here is the quote. And I hereby enjoin upon the people so declared to be free to abstain from all violence unless in necessary self-defense, and I recommend to them that in all cases when allowed they labor faithfully for reasonable. Who said that?
Oh, I got a couple of people that I'm picking between. It's again another friend and a comrade in the fight against slavery.
Of course it is. Of course it is, William.
All right. Is it a former president?
Yes, he is.
Is
You
he
cheating.
short? Is he short?
Of course not.
Then it's got to be Abraham Lincoln.
William Lloyd Garrison, you got it again.
I'm good at this game. It's a gift and a curse. More of a gift.
I can't seem to find the third quote.
That's because I have it for you. Now, turn the tables there. Who said this? Our country is the world. Our countrymen are mankind. A little shorter. Yours.
Well,
A lot easier, probably.
is this person extremely good looking?
If I may say so myself.
Is he a glasses wearer?
He wears great looking glasses.
Well, there's only one man from the past like that, and that's you, William Lloyd Garrison.
Yeah, he got it.
is
He
William
got it.
Lloyd.
It was me, viewers. It was me.
Well, that concludes the mystery document game. And now, let's head to a commercial break.
So about that chair.
Hi, welcome back to History with Hank. I'm Hank. I own the show. I own the show. I own the chairs.
I think they know that. Okay.
Okay, William Lloyd Garrison.
Sorry.
So, here's a closing segment. We like to call More Questions.
Great name. Great name.
Okay. So now, how did society at the time respond to this movement?
I mean, I don't like to make the broad generalizations, but it depended a lot about the region. The North was a lot more supportive. I mean, yes, we had people that disagreed with us, but there were a lot of people that liked what we were doing, thought we were reforming America. The South was, again, we did have some supporters in the South, but there was a lot more slave owners there, and they were strongly against what we were doing. A lot of them weren't even violent about it. They wouldn't let us send out our pamphlets, and so they were not supportive at all.
Okay. Well, speaking about those people that were not supportive, we have a couple of people who did not support the abolition of slavery, and they were pro-slavery all the way. One was named Minister James Thorwell. He said that slavery was a matter of religion,
Yes.
and said abolitionists were communists and atheists. What do you think about that?
I think that's completely false, utterly false. Malarkey. We had a lot of Protestants that supported us, and just because somebody disagrees with the oppression of a race does not necessarily mean that they are an atheist or a communist. I think that is completely false.
Okay, and also one more man that hated, out of the thousands of people that hated you, I mean the abolition of slavery, his name was John C. Calhoun, and said that it was better for the blacks and it made them work. Well, William Lloyd Garrison, you probably need some sunscreen because you just got burned.
It's true. It's true. I wish I wasn't just a ghost, because then we could duke it out. But I think that's libel. I don't think that's true at all. I mean, you take some people from their homeland forcefully, and then you put them into a new land. You don't let them practice their culture. You employ them for no money. I don't think that could be called improving anything. I think that's an oppression, and you're treating slaves like things and property, and that's just not right.
Well, William Lloyd Garrison, were there, besides these two people, were there any other setbacks of the movement?
Yes, the Missouri Compromise was probably the biggest one that I could point to. There was a real chance with the Talmadge Amendment to kind of get on the fast track to abolishing slavery, and but because politics, the arena of compromise, we had to compromise with the pro-slavery people, and the Missouri Compromise, it kind of set us back a lot of years in the abolition of slavery. And then I mentioned earlier the Dred Scott court case, also set back.
Okay, well, William Lloyd Garrison, you're truly a remarkable person.
Thank you. Deserving of the chair?
Next question, what kinds of impacts did the movement have?
What kind? I think more than anything, it set a precedent for future civil rights movement. I mean, we're hardly the first person to have a movement, but I mean, Britain actually freed the slaves before us. There were plenty of other people that were ahead of the curve, but I think in terms of American society, it was the first large movement besides the Revolution that was successful, and the Revolution was a completely different thing. This was more about civil rights, and I think it set a precedent for the women's right to vote movement, and for the civil rights of black people, not just to not be slaves, but to be equal. I think we set a precedent. It's the best way I can describe it.
Yes, so speaking about that a little more, were there any political, social, cultural, economic implications to this?
Yes. Politically, it was a huge win for northern politicians, and so southern politicians were defeated, and it was a little difficult because when they were reintroduced to the Union after seceding, I mean, it was a defeat. I mean, it was kind of awkward trying to bring them back in after they had said so many bad things and seceded. Socially, you're bringing in an entirely new class of people, and the whites had to accept the blacks were now part of their society, and that was an adjustment. Religiously, Christians had to a little bit adjust because they believed it was so morally wrong, but they see it in everyday life, and that was an adjustment for them. Culturally, blacks were now more free to practice their culture because a lot of slaveholders wouldn't let them. And then economically, it hurt the plantations because they made less money because they couldn't exploit for free labor. And it introduced now there were more laborers, more field workers, because that was a new job market almost.
Okay, yes, okay. Well, William Lloyd Garrison, you had a big impact on some people, especially a couple of historians that I will read what they say about you. And historians at the Gilder Lehrman Institute called you the symbol of immediate abolition. Is this accurate?
Ooh, I don't like to toot my own horn, but yes. Yes, it is. I think because, I mean, a lot of people thousands of people read my newspaper, but I think my impact was bigger than that. I think because the death threats and the arrest warrant in North Carolina, I think I think I grew as more of a symbol because I made so many speeches and I was so unwavering in my support of the abolition of slavery that I became a symbol. So I think that's an accurate statement. Yes, I think you put it quite nicely.
Well, you're tooting your own horn, if I do say so myself.
Ask the question.
Another historian named Robert McNamara called your views extremely radical. Do you believe that this is correct?
I do not, Hank. My views may not have been the norm at the time. I had a lot of support from people, and it was hardly uncommon for somebody to be for the abolition of slavery. So I would say like maybe they're a little different, but extremely radical is largely overstating things.
Interesting. So since I've been listening to you this whole entire time, I know that the movement that you achieved was that you abolished slavery. You helped abolish slavery. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay.
Well, truly great, William Lloyd Garrison. Truly great. Love the movement. Not a big fan of you. Doesn't really mean anything. Okay. So our final question: were there any other movements like this one?
Other countries they had their own fights for abolishing slavery, and as I said earlier, we set the precedent. Women's rights, civil rights movement. Those are very similar to what we did.
Well, thank you, William Lloyd Garrison, for coming here.
It's been a pleasure.
I want my chair back.